Ch3 Lecture Terms. The Russian Federation is a country spanning Eastern Europe and Northern Asia. It is the largest country in the world, 1/8 of the Earth's landmass. Central Asia is the region in Asia that stretches from the Caspian Sea in the west to China and Mongolia in the east, from Afghanistan and Iran south to Russia in the north part of the old Soviet Union. The Transcaucasus, or region south of the Caucasus Mountains, a border with Russia to the north. It includes three states: Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, which is largely mountainous plateau. Russian plain populated area where western Russia meets Eastern Europe, with many river basins and farming. Cratered landscape, large craters in this Siberian Arctic that were formed by the buildup of gas within freezing mounds of mud to the point of exploding and creating the crater. West Siberian Plain, the northwestern region of Siberia up to the Ural Mountains, which is a poorly drained, very swampy floodplain. Central Siberian Plateau. The Siberian Plateau is a vast mountainous area in Siberia north of Russia, and is renowned for its mining of minerals. Tundra/taiga, a cold, somewhat desolate area that grows no trees, because of the weather, and only small shrubs, grass and moss are found in the vegetation. Ural Mountains, the north to south mountain range in eastern Russia dividing Europe from the European countries. Mountain Rim, the series of mountain ranges that border the southern and eastern regions of Russia, joining the Urals as the western boundary, making Russia almost circled by mountains. Mount Elbrus, highest peak in Russia and Europe. Basic climate. Generally it is referred to as a continental climate, with warm to hot dry summers and very cold winters with heavy snowfall. Lack of ocean influence/latitude. So much of Russia landmass is bordered by land. Air pollution is significantly high due to industrialization in the populated west area near Europe border, as well as portions of central Russia. Industry highly industrialized in oil, gas and metals. Breathing bad from air pollution. Taiga death and explosion in eastern Siberia that killed 80 million trees. It is 10% of the world landmass. Water problems. Russian water is 50% polluted, with 11 million people having no access to safe water. Chernobyl in 1986, the worst nuclear disaster ever in the world from a nuclear plant meltdown. Above ground testing bombs on land and air. Dumping, planting radioactive waste where it kills the environment. Tsar, a monarchical all-powerful leader in Russia. Faberge eggs. 1917 Socialist Revolution, a Russian uprising led by Lenin in Russia, also known as the Bolshevik Revolution. Civil War. Bolshevik Revolution. The Bolsheviks were politically committed to a strong centralized dominant government, and created a civil war against the Tsar. 1922 USSR. Lenin takes control of the government and signs a treaty combining Russia, Ukraine and Transcaucasia into the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. USSR. Lenin, a Marxist revolutionary leader. Stalin in 1924, the revolutionary leader who took over the Soviet Union and the Communist Party in a repressive government. Cold War, 1945 to 1989, was a period of political tension between the United States and the Soviet Union and their respective allies, which began following World War II. Iron Curtain, the political curtain or boundary between Western Europe and the Eastern European countries annexed by Soviet Union after World War II. Berlin Wall. Germany was at the center of the Iron Curtain, and the Soviets divided this country in half at the Berlin capital. The city was divided by a concrete wall, with the Russians on the east and Germans and American troops on the west. End of Cold War. The end of the Soviet Union in 1989, accomplished by feet turning down of the Berlin Wall by Germans and revolutions throughout Eastern Europe occupied countries. Agricultural failure. Climate and poor worker production during USSR. Vladimir Putin, a former Russian KGB leader, who politically took over the Russian government through a rigged election in 2012. Moscow, the capital of Russia and the government. St. Petersburg, a major port on the Baltic Sea that was formerly the capital of Russia under the monarch governments. Trans-Siberian Railroad, a railroad connection established from Moscow and western Russia to the Russian Far East port of Vladivostok. Gulag Archipelago, a famous piece of Russian literature. Brain drain, a term defining the emigration of highly trained and intelligent people leaving Russia for Western countries with greater opportunities in science and industry.
Reverse migration after the fall of the Soviet Union, and the brain drain occurring with Russians leaving the country.
A large proportion of ethnic Russians who escaped the communist Russia started to return to the mother country.
Globalization, class examples.
Permafrost ground that remains permanently frozen, never thawing, found in the Siberian area. Steppe, a large area of flat unforested grassland found in southeastern Europe or Siberia. Aral Sea, a shrinking sea in Russian that eventually dried up. Caspian Sea, bordering the eastern portion of Transcaucasus, it is completely surrounded by land and resembles a very large lake like the Great Lakes. Caucasus Mountains, a mountain range between Russia and Transcaucasia extending from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea. Feudal serfdom, peasants living under the rule of the Russian czars, with the lowest social standard and used as servant farmers. The Silk Road, an ancient trade route from Central Europe through the entire Russian-Asian landmass to the Pacific, connecting the Far East for goods. Command economy, his system, which means all the production is publicly owned and all the economic activities is controlled by a central authority, usually the government. Russian diaspora, the large group of ethnic Russians speaking the same language / Population growth in Russia has been declining since the 60s.